Thought I was going to be
Hi.
playing solo then, babe.
It
You know
says
the panic when I'm like waiting for you to accept. I'm like, it's just going to be me rambling on.
it was actually muffled a minute ago, but it sounds better now, Cath. It's when it comes up, it says you are invited to Cath's room. And I thought, oh, we're going in Cath's room. It's different.
Are you okay? You look
Yeah,
very well,
I'm not
darling.
bad. It's a ring light. I don't know
In
why I don't
everyday
use
life.
this.
God bless.
Just carry it around. I know, but how does it make such a difference?
I think
it's like my
because
bags have
we're
gone.
both busy working mums with 2 kids, the bags are for real. And this kind of, I've got mine on so bright that it just blurs everything out. It's like Botox,
Brilliant.
isn't it?
I'm doing. It is. I'm doing some more filming with your husband next week, and he needs to get his bloody ring lights out. I'm
just
telling
bob
you.
5 on me, babes, be fine. So, you that don't know Sarie, do you want to just explain to people what it is that you do?
So what do I do? So I am a trained psychotherapist and a coach, and probably the two main areas that I work is with individuals, helping them with things like anxiety, overwhelm, stress. And I also work with other well-being practitioners and people that want to be coaches or practitioners in the field to help them take care of themselves in their work as well. So they're the two main areas. But as you know, Cath, I've got a teenage daughter who is currently doing her GCSEs, and I've got a baby that's nearly 1. So, which I can't believe. Can you believe they're nearly 1?
Yeah.
Well, yours is 1 already.
It just goes in the blink of an eye. It feels like we were pregnant 5 minutes ago, doesn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah. Feels like that panic attack was just only yesterday.
Get together is, well, the main reason is to talk about the BROOD live. So for those of you that don't know, BROOD magazine centers around entrepreneurial parents, so parental units that still are very ambitious, very career driven, but they are juggling a brood, a bit like Sarie and I. And so they're going to be doing a live event in Manchester on the 16th of June, and they have the most phenomenal lineup of guest speakers, don't they? I mean, it's just going to be incredible. I think it's really important that we create a good support network, like-minded people, because it is hard, right? We are still really career driven, and we are balancing family life with that. And I think often what we see on Instagram are these, pictures of perfection. We're out for a family walk, we're making banana bread, the kids look happy and clean, when the reality is they're normally covered in crap, and we're climbing the walls trying to balance everything. And I think the biggest pull for me in terms of the BROOD live event is being surrounded by like-minded people and sharing tips, I suppose, for survival.
Yeah, and I think often it's been a bit of a shock for me actually having a baby, because I'm 44 years of age. It was not, expected, and I've been quite lucky really in that I've had my daughter who's been great, and she's a teenager and she's still great, and I've almost been a bit spoiled. And then to have a baby again at my age, what I really realised, all of my friends would literally, cannot believe that I've got a baby at this age. They're like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, what were you thinking? And so I'm kind of found myself in a situation where actually none of my friends were anywhere near at the stage where I've started again in life. So it was a bit of a shock for me in that sense. It was like, oh my goodness, like what am I going to do? I don't want to go to baby classes, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with baby classes, but I'll be honest with you, I am very much the type of person that when I'm not being mum, I don't want to talk about babies. I don't want to talk about nappies and feeds. It actually makes me feel on edge when people ask me questions about, this, that, and just want time just to switch off. And for me, because I work for myself and run my own business, I do enjoy talking about work, but then it's that juggle. So it's nice to be able to speak to other people who genuinely understand what it's like to try and keep your career and work really hard and not feel endless amounts of guilt and like you're neglecting your children, because it is a really difficult balance. So I think for me, something like BROOD and the fact that this is the kind of thing they talk about is really helpful, because actually it can be so lonely and isolating working for yourself anyway, and then to be juggling children as well, it can get really overwhelming. And you know, and I know, Cath, you're in a similar situation to me, where my husband had full paternity off work, which, you know, he was wondering how people would see him for doing that. And I felt like I was going to get judged. Like, why did you go back to work after 2 weeks? Like, what kind of a mother are you? And it's like, well, actually, it worked really well for us. You know, it was hard. And I thought I was nailing it. Like, oh, back to work after 2 weeks. It's great. It's only months later I realised, wow, that was hard. Because I think I was just a zombie. So it's nice to be able to, you know, be around people who've experienced the struggle and the difficulty, because it is really bloody
and
hard.
I do think we are still behind the times. You know, I had people, don't get me wrong, most people were super supportive when I went back to work early. You know, I think Iris was like 3 months old when I started filming The Good Ship Murder. But then there were people, especially women, who were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you've left her. What are you doing? And I know that when the shoe is on the other foot, if it was Tom, as it was when we had Alfie that had to work away, nobody batted an eyelid. And that was really frustrating for me, because a bit like yourself, my career is a huge part of me. And actually, I feel that I'm a much better parent when I'm busy with work, and yes, it's manic, but I have that time with my family then on my days off or at weekends, and that time is really treasured, instead of being, you know, again, a bit like yourself. There are certain baby groups that I go to, but also it drives me slightly mad being in mum mode 24/7, because I'm still Cath. I don't want to be talking about baby food and nappies and, you know, all the time. I think it's really easy to lose yourself. And I remember having a really good chat with one of my relatives when I went back to work after having Alfie, and I think he was about 4 months old when I went back to Corrie. And she has 2 girls, and she said to me, Cath, you are going to go back to work, right? And I said, yeah. And she used to be a solicitor, and she said, I loved my job. I gave it up when I had my girls, and I adore my girls, but part of me really regrets it, because I have lost a huge part of me. You know, and she loved bringing her girls up, but I think she now looks back and wishes that she had found that network of support, be able to juggle. And that's going to be a really big thing at the BROOD Live event, is talking to all these wonderful people in various fields. We're all in the same canoe, babes, and we're all trying to paddle fast but maintain our sanity. And I think that's really key in terms of our mental health.
Yeah, and I think it's also realising, or by speaking to other people, that you can have your moments. You can, you know, we're human, so you're gonna sometimes feel like it's all too much. Sometimes you know, one thing I've really learned recently that has been valuable for me is when I try and spend time with Aria, but at the same time my head is in work, and I'm like, I've still got to do this, I've still got to do that. I don't feel like I'm doing a great job of parenting, and I feel like I'm rubbish at my job. And so what, you know, again, it's just learning and speaking to other people about realising, do you know what? If I just focus on that then and get a bit more organised, and then when I've got my time with my daughter, just be present and not be thinking about everything else. And it's a skill. You've got to really make a conscious effort to do that and to recognise that. And you know, we were saying before about, you know, not talking about nappies and stuff, and some people love talking about that stuff, and that it's not a judgment at all. I just know it's not for me. But I do like to be able to speak to people about stuff with me, like, oh my god, is your period horrendous? Or, you know, do your boobs do this now? Or have you got extra facial hair since you know, stuff like that I feel like I want someone to go, yeah, don't worry, me, I've got that as well. And you know, for me, that's really, really important. And as much as we can love our jobs, and first and foremost, we're human beings. And I think just being able, and also just to go, what I can't wait for is going, speaking with people, and just having a bit of fun and a bit of time out. Because the other thing I've found, Cath, I don't know about you, is that because I'm either working or parenting, when I really feel like, do you know what, I want some time with my mates, or I just want some time on my own, actually. I don't want to speak to a human being. It's like, but I can't because I've been working, so now I've got to dedicate my time to my children, or I've been with the kids, so now I've got to go and do work. And it's like, well, actually, we've also got to have fun. And if fun looks like socialising, or if fun, for me, fun is watching a programme in bed on my own and everybody leaving me alone. So it's realising that we can do that as well, because I think it's very easy to stop yourself and think, well, it's either that or that, and I can't do things for me anymore that are nice. I said this yesterday on one of my training things. I actually had a sneaky thought, and I'm not going to do this, but I thought, do you know what? I might say I'm training somewhere and just book a hotel, just lie, and just go and spend the night on my own in a hotel room. But then I thought, why am I lying? Because actually my husband would be like, of course you can, love. But I'm like, I felt like I wanted to do this sordid getaway on my own, like sneak, just me in my pajamas, and you know. But sometimes that's how it gets you, isn't it? It's like, I just need to be away from everything and everyone. But it's nice, again, to be around people who understand that. And we are.
I know that we're both really aware of how lucky we are with our other halves, because, you know, they're both very similar in that respect. I know that I can say to Tom, I need a weekend away on my own where I'm just reading a book, just a little bit of self-care. And I know he'll let me do that in the same way if he wants to, you know, go away and play golf for a bit, or, you know, whatever. It's so important. And I think, like you've just said, to have that broader network of people around you, it's so key. Because the mum guilt, I mean, let's just go back to that for a second. I was raised a Catholic, so it's like a double whammy. I'm spiritual, but I'm not a practicing Catholic, but the guilt never leaves you. So that doubled up with mum guilt is quite something. And I really have to take myself out of the equation sometimes. I have to take a step back and just be aware that I am a better parent when I take that time for myself. If I have that half an hour massage, or if I go for a swim, or, you know, whatever it is that I feel that I need to do at that time, because otherwise I just become so overloaded. And sometimes for me, it's just a half an hour walk. It's just being back in nature.
And do you know what, Kath? We so often tell ourselves that we can't find time. And then what we end up doing, and I'm guilty of this, I'm going to hold my hands up, is then getting jealous and resentful of other people that do seem to find the time. So, you know, I might see you out in the car, you know, in your pre-gym car sessions that you do on Insta. I go, I want to find the time to go to the gym. I wish I could find the time. And actually, realistically, I can. So, if I really, you know, valued it, then we've got to find it. And that's the thing. And we can, again, with social media, we can resent, oh, it's all right for them, they do this. We can prioritise ourselves. We can choose ourselves sometimes. It's just that it does feel a little bit uncomfortable often to do that, because there is always other stuff. And I think the way I was after having Maya 15 years ago, nearly 16 years ago, versus how I am with Aria now, is a very different mental place. I am in a miles better place. This has been so much easier than it was 15 years ago, when I was extremely anxious and depressed. It was awful. And I would say the biggest reason for the difference now is I have massively lowered my expectations of myself and given myself permission. So if you could see behind this ring light, my house is a shit tip. There is stuff everywhere. And I won't tidy it up when I finish this, because what I'll do is go and get myself in bed and get a bit of extra sleep. Whereas when I had Aria, to be a good mum, I felt like the house had to be nice, and I had to be doing this, and I had to be doing that. And actually realised this time around it's been so much easier, because I'm like, in fact, I'm doing more because I'm working more than I was when I had Maya, but I feel better in myself because I'm like, Stuff can
it's
wait.
just not doable. And I am guilty of being too hard on myself. I am a bit of a perfectionist. I hold my hands up when I say I'm a little bit of a control freak. And the older I get, I think the better I am at learning to say no. Because otherwise I just burn out. It's just
of course you
impossible.
will,
And I think, like you say, I've got better at looking around myself and going, okay, what can wait and what can't. Like, I needed to do loads of housework tonight, but I looked at my script and I was like, I've got to get these lines down tonight. I've got to do it. So Tom had the kids for an hour and I've got them a bit more in my, and yes, there's still housework that needs doing, but it can wait. And like you, I'm not going to do it when I jump off this call because I'm knackered and I know I need to get some sleep. Otherwise, you know, you do get run down, you do burn out. And I think it is, again, it's a guilt thing. It's learning how to not feel guilty when you are saying no.
Do you know what, Kath? I don't get the guilt that often. I do get it a bit now with Aria, but I've not felt guilty around parenting for a number of years. And the reason being, I can't remember what it was that triggered this or what happened. But at some moment in time, I just saw guilt different. I saw it for what it really is. So if you think about, all of our thoughts create our feelings. So if we feel anxious, it's because we've got anxious thoughts. If we feel angry, it's because we're thinking about feeling angry towards someone. So our thoughts are creating our feelings. And it's the same with guilt. So guilt isn't an indication that we're not doing enough with our kids, that we need to be better parents. All guilt is, purely and simply, is a feeling based on our thoughts. So our thoughts are things like, I'm not doing enough, I need to be better, I feel sorry for my kids because I've not seen them today. We're creating the guilt. It's nothing to do with anything. It's not an indication of anything. So if I do feel guilt now, rather than seeing it as, oh, I must do better and manage things better, I actually see it as an indication to lower my expectations for myself. That's what it is. Guilt is pressure and high expectations of ourselves.
And I think you know what else helps? Seeing things through the eyes of a child and the difference, the perspective that they have on time. So you remember when you were a kid and the 6 weeks holidays felt like you were off for a year, and 6 weeks for us now as grown-ups is just over in the blink of an eye. And whenever I've got loads of work on and, you know, I'm being pulled in all directions, I will just say to myself, just have 20 minutes now with Alfie where my phone is off. We do whatever he wants to do, because 20 minutes to him is like an hour to me. Have an hour with him, and that's like 2 or 3 hours to him. And it's finding those little moments. And I'm getting better. I don't know if you've read the four pillar plan by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. It's brilliant. It's just really simple things that you can implement into everyday life that really change your life, such as switching your phone off for an hour. And then maybe the week after you switch it off for 2 hours. You put it on don't disturb or whatever. Getting fresh air, family meals where, you know, you engage in proper conversation, even if 40 minutes. And it's just really, it's not rocket science. It's all
it's simple. Everything that's beneficial is simple, but we overcomplicate everything massively. And, you know, with my therapist head on, being present with your children or with anybody for 5 minutes is worth so much more value than sitting with them for 2 hours if genuinely you know your head's somewhere else. It's like the example I often give to this is like eating a McDonald's versus a Sunday dinner. So a McDonald's, you know, you're going to feel full straight away, but then in 10 minutes you're going to feel hungry because there's no nutrition and all of that. It's a bit like that. If you with your children and actually present, it's like giving them the nutrition that will last for ages. So you're present with them and they feel nourished by you. So they're kind of like, oh, I'm good, I've had mum. Whereas if you're with them, but you're not actually with them, you're in your head going, oh, let's do arts and crafts, but you're thinking, God, I've got this to do, I've got that to do. It's like giving them a McDonald's. The minute you try and go away, they're going to come after you because they're going to be like, more, because they want more of you because you've not been present. And so it's not actually, we don't have to be present for a very long time for people to really feel the benefits of it.
I really do. And I also like, I know it's not possible in all lines of work, but for me it is sometimes. I like involving the kids. Alfie's at that age now where, you know, I can take him on set. The job I've just finished, I took him on set and the director let him shout action and cut, and he thought it was the coolest thing ever. And so I do like to involve him. Last night I was looking at a script and he's like, Mummy, can I read it with you? And he wanted to play the other character in this two-hander. And Tom, when he went back to work after we'd had Iris, I mean, he only had, you know, a week or two off, you know, to have properly that time. But when he started doing the odd shoot again after she was born, he was going to work with the baby strapped to him, doing photo shoots. And he's like, because I can. And why not? You know,
why not?
She doesn't know any different. Yeah. And I think that's a lovely thing as well, you know, to try and involve the children. And I know that's something else that Brood magazine have spoken about a lot. It's the kids being aware of what it is we do, why we're so driven. Why do we love our jobs so much? And I'm really hopeful that we instill our work ethic in the kids, which, you know, all the guest speakers, I mean, I've written them down because there's so many. The guest speakers on the day, of course, it's hosted by Mike Toolan, who is absolutely brilliant and hysterically funny. But we've got some brilliant guest speakers. We've got Aaron Branch, we've got Ollie Dawn, we've got I'm Speaking, You're Speaking. They've had the most insane cover stars as well. We've got Rebecca Adlington, Kelvin and Liz Fletcher, Brooke Vincent, Helen Skelton, Sally Lindsay. I mean, all these people that they're bringing together, for me, are people that I look at and really admire. And I think we're all looking at each other going, how do they do it? How do they do it? How do they get everything done? So to get us all together in one room and we're all sharing tips, I think is going to be absolutely priceless.
Yeah. And giving each, you know, even when you don't know someone that well. So, for example, I don't know how long I've known you now, Cath. It's just before lockdown, wasn't it, that we started to talk a little bit more on WhatsApp and stuff. And as you were like one of my lockdown lovers. I have a lot of lockdown lovers that just really got to know a bit more during lockdown. And I'm grateful for that time, actually, because it was almost forced to find new ways to interact and things like that. But one thing I've noticed is that, and I've said this to loads of people, that people that I have met more recently in my life have felt so instantly comfortable with them. It's felt much easier than it did years ago. But I think what that is often is because there's similarities, because you kind of juggling the same things. And so and I know people with things like events like this will think, oh, well, can't go to something like that on my own, or can't. But what I found is having parenting and working in common just instantly gives you a connection that you might not realize is there, but it is easy and it flows because we realize how hard it is, that we're human. And so I think people, you know, are respectful and kind and loving with each other really quickly because we know what it's like for each other. And I think that's what I've really found. And I've said that, I even said to Matt, I want to renew our vows, because I've met so many lovely people since we got married that I'd love to share it. He's like, no, you're not interested. It's like, right, I'll find somebody else then. You're not going to engage in that. But that, and part of the reason for that is because of the so many wonderful people that I've met as I've got older, as my business has grown, and I've kind of had to start juggling that and parenting, and you know, it's wonderful to have those kind of people around you as well. And I'm dreading when Aria goes to school, because they're all going to think I'm grandma. So I'm going to be like, oh, is your grandma picking you up today? And so, but I'm joking. But actually, it's nice to have people that instantly you've got something you can talk about, because you know that you're working, you know that you've got children, you know that you're like instantly there's something that you can actually you've got in common with people straight away. I
really love it, and there's so much humour there. I saw on Ollie Dunn, who is speaking at the event. He's a presenter on Steph's Packed Lunch. dadpreneur, is that what we call it? And he's a chocolatier. He's chocolate.
I know.
Stop it.
I know.
It's insane. But I saw his little one this morning, had drawn all over the walls, all over the interiors in the lounge, her little teepee, like, and they're both really busy, aren't they? There's just permanent marker everywhere, and you just think, oh my gosh, it's not just us then.
No, I was really lucky with that with Maya. She never did anything like that, ever. And yet,
looked at each other today and we went, this is Iris. Iris did.
Yeah.
You know?
Same with me. People say that the second child is there's something about them, and I'm like, that can't be a theory. How can that be a theory? But I'm seeing it already, like the difference in, like, Aria is more feisty now than Maya is at nearly 16. So, but again, it's that, isn't it, of stuff that you know, you kind of think, you know, you've had one or you've not. And this is the thing about parenting, it's never the same, it's constantly changing, and none of us are experts in it. That's what I love. None of us are experts. We're all learning, and we can all learn from each other. And that's the other difference, that with Maya, at first I'd be embarrassed years ago about, you know, because of my own insecurities, about saying, oh, I do it like this, and I'd want to conform and I'd want to fit in with what the right thing to do. Whereas now I'll openly say, look, I'm really bloody struggling with this, what do you do? Or, you know, because it's like, we all struggle. Let's just face it, we all struggle sometimes.
I'm terrible, darling. There are times when Alfie said the other day, and it really cracked, he started laughing, and Tom was like, what are you laughing at? And he said, Mummy trying to parent. And I can't remember what I was doing. I'm so bad. The school mum chat, I think they just feel a bit sorry for me, because I hold my hands up. I am that mum that's like, what do you mean it's Own Clothes Day tomorrow? What do you mean they're on a school trip tomorrow? What? I think they're just like, oh, bless her, she pretends to be a tree for a living. It's all right, come on. But honestly, and Tom just despairs. He's like, for God's sake, just let me do it. I feel like, you know, I can memorize 98 pages of script, but if you ask me to go and pick up the kids or bread and milk, whoo, gone.
You'll that with one but not capacity. The other.
And I think we're all in the same boat with our brain full capacity.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the other thing though as well, Kath, I think even if your children are a bit older, because like we've got babies, but even when your children are a bit older, like I'm tackling a teen at the same time as a baby, and as much as my teen is actually brilliant, you know, there's still teeny things, you know, there's still stuff. So when you're saying about Alfie, then she'll regularly say to me, Mum, you're not listening, just stop talking and listen to me, just don't say a word and just listen to me. And I'm like laughing, but she's right, because I'm like, come on, I've got to do this, and she's like, sometimes, Mum, you're not listening, just stop and listen and don't speak. So even, you know, as we go through all of the stages, I'm still trying to work and juggle teenagers is still hard, because you're not, you know, they're still your babies basically, and you still worry for them, and you still want them to be happy, and you know, you still. So I think again, whatever age you're at as a parent, there's still loads of benefit in being surrounded by supportive, like-minded people who, again, you know, understand. Because I don't think it ever changes.
Well, look, I'm going to let you go, because I feel like I've chewed your ear off and I could just talk to you all day. But thank you for jumping on, and I'm super excited about hearing you speak at the BROOD Live on the 16th of June. Tickets are still available, guys. It's going to be a great day, super chilled. You know, come and join us, have a bit of breakfast, get to meet new people, network with like-minded people. It's going to be a really fun day, and we're all going to get to share our stories and experiences, and hopefully create a really cool network of support, and we can all help and inspire each other.
Yeah, definitely. And if anybody wants to go but doesn't like going anywhere on their own, you can DM me, and I'll look out for you and come and say hello. Things like this can be uncomfortable if you go on your own, but only for 5 minutes, because, you know, there's loads of extroverted, sociable, bubbly people in that room who will sweep you up.
There handing out bacon butties. It's all good.
Hi everyone, Friday the 16th of June at Hotel Football is the first BROOD live event. I'll be there. I'll be talking about my story, some inspirational quotes and things like that. There's loads of other people joining us, some great speakers. Get your tickets. See you there, Friday, June 16th.
Hey guys, Ollie here to tell you about the BROOD live event. I will be a guest speaker at the BROOD live event on the 16th of June. There are tickets still available and there are lots of incredible speakers. So whether you're an entrepreneur, you have a career, you're juggling a brood or not, you just simply want to come along and be inspired, because that is guaranteed. Just make sure that you get your tickets and I will look forward to seeing you then.